is this whole debt ceiling, debt default crisis going to end? Well, I have no idea, but I can tell you about one of the most interesting solutions being floated right now. The solution could rest inside the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. The theory is President Biden can declare the whole idea of a debt ceiling unconstitutional. Basically, he can ignore it, and the Treasury Department can just go ahead and borrow what it needs to pay Congress's bills that have already been spent without an explicit new law passed by the House and the Senate. But where the hell would the president get that kind of authorization? The theory is he could rely on one short phrase included in the 14th Amendment. In Section 4, the 14th Amendment says, "The validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payments of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned." Technically, yes, the words specifically say the validity of the United States public debt shall not be questioned. Not maybe, but shall not be questioned, meaning the U.S. debt incurred by law, which is how we accumulate debt in this country when Congress passes bills that are not paid for, must get paid, shall not be questioned. Some legal scholars argue the public debt clause of the 14th Amendment overrides any law that established the debt ceiling. It's also worth noting Congress also passed a law in 1917 saying the Treasury Secretary shall pay interest due or accrued on public debt. But you have to understand the context of the 14th Amendment to understand why it was added to the Constitution in the first place. See, this amendment was ratified in July of 1868, and it includes most significantly the right to citizenship for all persons born or naturalized in the United States. This included slaves. This amendment was ratified after the Civil War, and the reason why the debt part was included was to prohibit the U.S. from repaying the war debts of the Confederate States or prohibiting any kind of compensation of former slave owners when they emancipated their enslaved people. Notably, there's also a clause in the 14th Amendment that bans any person who engaged in insurrection against the United States from holding any civil, military, or elected office. Now, I want you to understand, I'm not saying the president is for sure going to whip out the 14th Amendment and simply ignore the debt ceiling, poof, everything is better. No, the politics of that would be brutal. No other presidential administration has even tried this, even though it has been considered in the past. It's just come up again now as a long shot option, especially if this debt ceiling standoff between Democrats and Republicans continues. And keep in mind, if the president went down this road, he would absolutely be sued, and the lawsuits could prevent this whole scheme from happening before the United States defaults on its debt. The Treasury Secretary says debt default could happen as soon as June 1st.